Why did the Governor General go along with this? Why did she dissolve Parliament to essentially save Justin Trudeau? That is not in the public interest. That's not in the national or constitutional interest. I understand that's in Trudeau's personal interest and maybe in the Liberal Party's interest. But why did the Governor General dissolve Parliament in this double crisis? And is there anything we can do about it? Or, like the weather, do we have to accept it? Well, I saw news that the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms has gone to court to seek a review of the Governor General's decision. I didn't know you could do that. Joining us now to talk about it is the boss of the Justice Center, our friend John Carpay, who joins us now from Calgary. John, great to see you again. How you doing?
Good to see you, Ezra.
John, I would never have thought that the Governor General's decision could be reviewed. In my mind, she is an arm or a finger of the king. And I don't know if there's any court that can tell the king or his delegates what they can or can't do. But I have not looked into it deeply. I just sort of always assumed you can't touch the king or his deputy in Canada. On what basis do you think the decision to prorogue Parliament can be challenged?
Well, the prorogation of Parliament is not something that you routinely see getting taken to court. Part of this situation is that we've got a very strong precedent from 2019 when in the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson prorogued Parliament for 5 weeks, not nearly as long as the 11 weeks that Justin Trudeau is proroguing Parliament in Canada or trying to. Boris Johnson prorogued Parliament for 5 weeks, which was longer than the usual 1 to 3 weeks. And the highest court in the United Kingdom, the United Kingdom Supreme Court, ruled that it was a violation of the constitutional principle of the sovereignty of Parliament. Johnson had a minority government. He wanted to get the United Kingdom out of the European Union quicker. It was dragging on. It had been 3 years since the referendum. And the court ruled that his prorogation of Parliament was illegal because it sought to shield the government from scrutiny by Parliament. And we have the same constitution fundamentally in Canada, where the government is or should be accountable to Parliament. The government needs to enjoy the support of the majority of MPs. And so what we've got Justin Trudeau doing is analogous to what Boris Johnson did in 2019, proroguing Parliament, but it's for a political purpose. It's not because the business of Parliament has come to a natural conclusion, in which case prorogation would be a very normal thing. There's nothing unusual about prorogation. It completely shuts down Parliament, but without an election following it. So we're arguing in this court application that this is an illegal prorogation because it is done for the partisan political purpose of benefiting one political party, and it's not being done in the national interest, and it is unjustly shielding Trudeau and the other cabinet ministers and whatever new people are after the Liberal leadership race on March 9th. All of this is taking place without parliamentary scrutiny at a crucial time, and that's unacceptable.
John, I have just learned more from you in the last 90 seconds than I have on this subject in my whole life. I did not know that Boris Johnson prorogued Parliament for 5 weeks and was overturned by the Supreme Court. I didn't know that. And as you point out, in UK, no less, the mother of parliaments, I wouldn't have thunk it. And you're right.
Well, nobody thought about it in 2008 because the Justice Center is getting emails from people saying, why didn't you challenge Harper's prorogation of Parliament in 2008 when there was a threat to topple his minority government and replace it with a Liberal NDP Bloc Québécois coalition? And the short answer is that the Justice Center did not exist in 2008.
I was going to say, I don't think you guys were around in 2008. But that's incredible.
But
I didn't know about
nobody
that
thought about it. Nobody thought about it at the time because they could have taken that to court and maybe they would have, it's hypothetical. It was a little bit of a different fact scenario, but who knows? But now we've got this UK precedent. So it's like, okay.
That UK precedent sounds very strong. In fact, 5 weeks in the UK versus almost 3 months in Canada. Political scrounging around there. Oh my God, even more so here, achingly in need of a confidence vote or an election here. Every single fact or factor there seems to be more acute here. And I don't know if the Governor General would have even consulted the King or even legal counsel here. I think she just would have, I think she's such a partisan flack herself. She would have done whatever Trudeau asked her to do. I thought, and the reason I started by saying no one ever does anything about the weather, how can you, is because I assumed that prorogation was a unchallengeable prerogative of the King. And what you're saying is the decision-making process is reviewable. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, it is. And in the United Kingdom, this came up as well because Boris Johnson went to the Queen, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth at that time, and said, I want to prorogue Parliament. And the Queen said yes, and the Queen prorogued Parliament. What they did in the court action, they didn't attack the Queen or criticize the Queen, or they didn't argue that the Queen should have rejected the advice of the Prime Minister. They didn't take that tactic. What they said instead was that the advice that Boris Johnson gave to the Queen was unlawful. And so it was, the court action was against the Prime Minister's advice. And so we are filing this court action in the same manner. We're not going to try to go after the Governor General, and we're not going to try to argue that she should have disregarded the advice of the Prime Minister and she should have told the Prime Minister to go jump in the lake and so on and so forth. We're just leaving that alone. We're saying that the advice that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gave to the Governor General was unlawful advice. And that is kind of our legal tactic. That's what happened 5 years ago in the United Kingdom.
Well, John, like I said, just short minutes ago, I would have thought this was a lark, a Hail Mary pass. And by the way, it still is surely an uphill battle because while it's been done in the UK, it's novel in Canada. I haven't even heard anyone talk about it other than you guys. But with that British precedent, I'm suddenly filled with a little bit of hope. Of course, they always say the phrase time is of the essence. That's a lawyer's way of saying move quickly. Because, of course, the prorogation ends on the 24th. The Liberal shenanigans are scheduled for March 9th. We need Parliament now. Donald Trump is taking office on Monday. That's when this tariff crisis will come to fruition. How quickly are you moving? I take it you filed whatever originating notice is required. Has the Government of Canada accepted service of the documents? Have you moved into a really speedy case management? What court is this? The federal court you're in? Have you been assigned a judge to manage this thing? I got all sorts of procedural questions because to get something moving super fast is hard in our system. And I would imagine that's the number one way to defeat this. And just to rag the puck, how's it going in terms of speediness?
Well, we filed our court action on Tuesday the 7th. So on Monday the 6th, we had the Prime Minister make his announcement that he was going to resign and the Parliament would be prorogued. We had our court papers filed Tuesday the 7th, the day after. And so we've already had, we're in case management. We've got a case management judge who has been assigned to us, which is good. That means that you've got one designated person. The federal government walked into court and said that it was not urgent. Initially, they said, well, it's going to take us a week just to get back to you with our position as to whether or not this is an urgent matter. The judge was not amused. So they've said, okay, our position is that this is not urgent. So now we have an application at 12 noon Thursday later this week to deal with whether this is urgent or not. And hopefully we can win on that point. Realistically, we could be going to a hearing by the end of January. It's not impossible. Certainly in the United Kingdom, from the time of filing until a decision was rendered by the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, there's 4 weeks that went by. So when courts want to move something up the pipe quickly, they will. And so we are hopeful to get a hearing in late January or early February so that it can make a difference. And I don't want to make predictions, but I don't think the court will look too kindly on this federal government delay tactics, trying to suggest that somehow this is not urgent and we can just take our sweet time and get a decision whenever.